This is 2D part 1, where Pass First would like you to create a graph that is going to compare the interest that will be paid if payments are made on time compared to if they're not made on time. And they also want to compare the balances. Now you are going to be asked to produce a line graph, and we need to have a look and see exactly what needs to be on that line graph. On the line graph you're asked to include the cumulative interest, that's this column here, and the ending balance, that's this column here, for payments that are made on time. So these are the payments that are made on time, because this is where we've got the total payment that includes the bonus payment paid by the leasing company. Now of course, if we're going to put those on a graph, we'll also need to know which transaction number they relate to, because we'll need to have the transaction number along an x-axis, and then we'll have the data going up the y-axis for the cumulative interest and the balance. But it also wants us to include and compare that with the cumulative interest and ending balance for payments that are not made on time. In order to do that, we need a completely new table that is going to, instead of working out the total payments that we've got here, it will put in the planned payments. So let's have a look at how we could go about producing that. We could try simply copying and pasting the table and then making some changes. When I paste this table in, you'll see that we don't get much in there. A lot of things haven't calculated properly. Well, that's because if we have a look here, for example, at our starting balance, it's now trying to find I5. Whereas originally it was actually this value here, B5. So before we copy it, I'll just undo that, there are a couple of things we could do to make life a little bit easier. If we change the column here for B5 to be an absolute cell reference, then when we copy it across, it will not be I5. This doesn't need changing because this just refers to the ending balance in the table anyway, so when we copy it across it should move with what we do. The interest, if we look at this, the interest refers to the interest rate up here. So again, it's going to help if instead of just having $B$4, we have $B$4. That means when we copy it across, it won't change. Now I'm doing this using absolute cell references just to make life a little bit easier, but if you don't want to do it this way, you can just copy and paste it and change the cell references after you've pasted it. There's no harm in doing that. What I will have to do now though, because I've changed this one, I'll have to copy this all the way down. Now the cumulative interest only refers to values in this table, so that won't matter when we copy it. The total payment is going to change, but that's going to change quite dramatically, so we'll do that when we've copied it. And our ending balance again only refers to data in this table. So let's copy what we've got. So highlight down to there. Let's leave a gap between what we've got and what we're going to produce, and we'll paste it in here. Now if we have a look, we start with a balance of £16,500, that's correct, so that's looking good so far. Our interest is being calculated and our cumulative interest is being calculated, and if we expand our ending balance we can see that's being calculated. The next thing, or the last thing in this case, that we need to look at before we start doing other calculations is the total payment. Now if we have a look at our total payment function, we can see that it's trying to compare I8 for the value of the total payment. Whereas what it should be doing is using B8, but of course we didn't put a dollar in front of the I8, and the reason for that is because we've actually got to change quite a lot here. We actually want this to refer to the planned payment, which is B7, which is very different. Now when we copy it down, we don't want number 7 to change, so we'll put a dollar in there. We've got the same issue here where I8 is being used again, so let's change that to B$7. We'll just have a look at this and we can see now that we've got a total payment of £897.27. So if I copy that down, right, that's worked for us, and now this is showing us when we'll have completed the payments. And if we just have a look at this again, we just need to understand what it's saying. We're saying if $7, that's a planned payment, if our planned payment is less than what we need to pay, which is a starting balance added to the interest, then pay it. Pay $7. If not, okay, if it's not less than, it means it's either equal to or bigger than the starting balance plus the interest, and so it's going to be the last payment. So in that case, we only pay the starting balance plus the interest. And if we have a look when we scroll down, that is exactly what is happening here, where you can see, and it's very, very close, you can see that £897.27 was 2p more than these two added together. And so it would have meant that we'd have overpaid. So we only pay for some of those.